The alliance that sent Donald Trump back to the White House in 2024 is collapsing in plain sight, and the man applying the pressure isn't a politician. He's a pope. A new survey conducted by Shaw & Company Research and Beacon Research between March 2023 shows Trump's approval rating among Catholic voters has dropped to 48%, with 52% expressing disapproval. The intensity gap is even more telling. Only 23% strongly approve, while 40% strongly disapprove. In 2024, Trump carried the Catholic vote by a 12-point margin, securing 55% support. That 2024 coalition is now in tatters, as one analyst put it. The culprit is not domestic policy or economic jitters. It's the war with Iran, which has exposed a raw nerve between political loyalty and moral conscience. On the specific question of how Trump is handling the conflict, only 40% of Catholics approve, 55% oppose military force against Iran, and a similar majority believes the military action is not going well. The unease runs deep enough that even the strategic goals enjoy broad support. 71% want to prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons. 73% want to reduce Iranian-backed terrorism. But the means of achieving those ends have divided the faithful. Only 39% believe the strikes will make the United States safer. This moral ambivalence has been sharpened by voices Catholic voters trust. Pope Leo XIV has delivered a series of unusually direct appeals urging de-escalation and diplomacy. In one of his most pointed interventions, he declared that God does not bless any conflict, and that military action will not create space for freedom or times of peace, which comes only from the patient promotion of coexistence and dialogue among peoples. The Pope has not been subtle. On Palm Sunday, he proclaimed that Jesus, the King of Peace, cries out again from his cross, "God is love. Have mercy. Lay down your weapons. Remember that you are brothers and sisters." He has warned that the war risks creating an irreparable abyss and has specifically urged Trump to look for an off-ramp to end the violence. That puts Catholic voters in an uncomfortable position. They largely agree with the Pope's moral framework. Polling from Fox News shows net approval among Catholics for U.S. military action against Iran is minus 10 points, and Trump's handling of Iran is even worse at minus 20 points. Vice President J.D. Vance, himself a Catholic convert who occasionally sparred with church leaders over immigration policy, has found himself on the defensive. Vance tried to explain away Trump's social media post comparing himself to Jesus as a joke, but the image of military jets flying over a messianic Trump healing the sick was widely condemned as blasphemous. Archbishop Timothy Broglio, head of the U.S. Archdiocese for the Military Services, delivered a particularly stinging rebuke on Easter Sunday. He argued that the war is likely not justified under the Church's just war theory because the U.S. was compensating for a threat before the threat is actually realized. Broglio lined himself up with Pope Leo, who has been urging for negotiation, and added that he could not cast the war as something that would be sponsored by the Lord. Even USCCB President Archbishop Paul Coakley has joined the chorus, asking Catholics to pray ardently for de-escalation and an immediate ceasefire. He warned that the longer the conflict continues, the greater the risk of a dramatic escalation, risking an ever greater regional conflict. The fracture is not total. Large majorities of Catholics still support ending Iran's nuclear program and reducing its support for terrorism, but the moral framework has shifted. For voters who once saw Trump as a defender of religious liberty and a bulwark against secularism, the war in Iran has introduced a new variable, the authoritative voice of a pope who happens to be American, who speaks their language, and who insists that peace is not built with bombs.
When Trump lashed out on Truth Social, calling Leo weak on crime and accusing him of being soft on Iran's nuclear ambitions, he was not just feuding with a religious leader, he was alienating a constituency that delivered his margin of victory. The midterms are 7 months away. The war shows no sign of ending, and the Catholic vote, once a pillar of Trump's coalition, is slipping away like sand through an hourglass.